Shalom, hola, hello world. This is Bible Time Capsule. I'm Citizen. Today's readings for December 2nd, 2013. We are in chapter 8 of Judges. Let's begin then. Chapter 8. But the Ephraimites said to him, "What have you done to us, not calling us when you went to fight against Madian?" Not calling us when you went to fight against Madian? And they quarreled bitterly with him. "What have I accomplished now in comparison with you?" he answered. "Is not the gleaning of Ephraim better than the vintage of Abiezer? Into your power God delivered the princes of Madian, Oreb and Zeb. What have I been able to do in comparison with you?" When he said this, their anger against him subsided. When Gedeon reached the Jordan and crossed it with his 300 men, they were exhausted and famished. So he said to the men of Soccoth, "Will you give my followers some loaves of bread? They are exhausted, and I am pursuing Zebee and Salmana, kings of Madian." But the princes of Soccoth replied, "Are the hands of Zebee and Salmana already in your possession, that we should give food to your army?" Gedeon said, "Very well. When the Lord has delivered Zebee and Salmana into my power, I will grind your flesh in with the thorns and the briars of the desert." He went up from there to Phanuel and made the same request of them. But the men of Phanuel answered him as the men did of Soccoth. So to the men of Phanuel too he said, "When I return in triumph, I will demolish this tower." Now Zebee and Salmana were in Karkor, with their force about 15,000 men. These were all who were left of the whole Sedomite army, 120,000 swordsmen having fallen. Gedeon went up by the route of the nomads east of the Nobi and Jegbaah and attacked the camp when it felt secure. Zebee and Salmana fled. He pursued them and took the two kings of Madian, Zebee and Salmana, captive, throwing the entire army in a panic. Then Gedeon, son of Joash, returned from battle by the pass of Hares. He captured a young man of Soccoth, who upon being questioned listed for him the 77 princes and elders of Soccoth. So he went to the men of Soccoth and said, "Here are Zebee and Salmana, with whom you taunted me. Are the hands of Zebee and Salmana already in your possession, that we should give food to your weary followers?" He took the elders of the city and the thorns and the briars of the desert and ground these men of Soccoth into them. He also demolished the tower of Phanuel and slew the men of the city. Then he said to Zebee and Salmana, "Where now are the men you killed at Thabor?" They all resembled you," they replied. "They appeared to be princes. They were my brothers, my mother's sons," he said. "As the Lord lives, if you had spared their lives, I should not kill you." Then he said to his firstborn, Jether, "Go kill them." Since Jether was still a boy, he was afraid and did not draw a sword. Zebee and Salmana said, "Come, kill us yourself, for a man's strength is like the man." So Gedeon stepped forward and killed Zebee and Salmana. He also took the crescents that were on the necks of their camels. The Israelites then said to Gedeon, "Roll over us, you, your son, and your son's sons, for you rescued us from the power of Madian." But Gedeon answered them, "I will not rule over you, nor shall my son rule over you. The Lord must rule over you." Gedeon went on to say, "I should like to make a request of you. Will each of you give me a ring from his booty?" For being Ishmaelites, the enemy had gold rings. "We will gladly give them," they replied, and spread out a cloak into which everyone threw a ring from his booty. The gold rings that he requested weighed 1,700 gold shekels, in addition to the crescents and the pendants, the purple garments worn by the kings of Madian, and the trappings that were on the necks of their camels, Gedeon made an ephod out of the gold and placed it in his city Ephraim. However, all Israel paid it idolatrous homage to it there. Idolatrous homage to it there. Idolatrous, worshiping idols. And it caused the ruin of Gedeon and his family. Thus Madian, brought into subjection by the Israelites, no longer did they hold their heads high, and the land had rest for 40 years during the lifetime of Gedeon. Next section, Gedeon's son Abimelech. Then Jerubbaal, son of Joash, went back home to stay. Now Gedeon had 70 sons, his direct descendants, for he had many wives. His concubine lived in Shechem, also born him a son, whom he named Abimelech. At a good old age, Gedeon, son of Joash, died and was buried in a tomb to his father Joash in Ephraim of the Abiezrites. But after Gedeon was dead, the Israelites again abandoned themselves to the Baals, making Baal Berith their god, and forgetting the Lord their God, who had delivered them from the power of the enemies all around them. Nor were they grateful to the family of Jerubbaal, Gedeon, for all the good he had done for Israel. And that's the end of chapter 8 of Judges. This is Bible Time Capsule. I'm Citizen. Peace. I'm out.